10 one of the keys to a well-run meeting is starting on time and ending on time. So my name's Ron McLaren. I'm pleased to all of you and thank all of you for coming here tonight. It's the Real Estate and Network Training Society, and it's our first meeting here in this new venue. I'm glad you could all make it. So for myself, I used to run the club back a while back, and even before that, another fellow, Dave DeVoe, I think you started up the club about 3 or 4 years ago as free. Kamloops Real Estate.
2010.
2010. That's a ways back now. So things have come a long way. And my name's Rod. I'm a GP, general practitioner here in Kamloops, but I've got a sideline in real estate investments. So that's why I'm here. We've got a really awesome evening here planned tonight. We're going to talk about the club in a little more detail later on, but for now, let's get on with the program. We're going to be recording the evening as well, but I recommend you get a pen and paper and take some notes because there's going to be some pretty good stuff here tonight. We're going to start with an economic update from Kamloops, and then the presentation will start called Make Real Estate Great Again by Sam Parrott. And then after that, we're going to have a short coffee networking break. And once you get back to your seats, you can have a chance to ask Sam about any questions about his trip to New York. And then after that, you're going to get a chance to pitch your deals. So we're all going to try to get out of here by 9 o'clock at the latest. And so to kind of get things going, has anybody here purchased any real estate, anything since the last time we've had a meeting? Is there any new purchases, any real estate acquisitions? Working on it?
Paul, I know you bought something.
Yeah, tell us about it, Paul.
Yeah, we bought a half a duplex with Monmouth and a townhouse in Springview Place, and we're working a deal on another half a duplex. It's not quite yet done, but we're working on it.
Awesome, excellent. So how's it going so far?
It's great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, is there anybody else who's taken on some new properties the last little while?
Yeah.
So,
I guess I may as well pipe up.
okay, awesome.
Yeah, I moved subjects on a fourplex, which closes at the end of the month. And Ed sold me a subdivision property that closes on the 15th. So yeah, my partner and I are excited to get on that. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Excellent. So let's have a hand of applause for this. And it's great to be around these people that are taking action. That's what this is all about. Not just about talking about real estate, but taking action to make our lives and those around and that those and that of those we are a little better. So I'd like to welcome Connor now to the front to the Kamloops update, please. So Connor's is with RE/MAX Kamloops. He's a very successful and active in the real estate industry. His extensive real estate education includes rental and strata property management courses and a diploma in urban land economics from the UBC Sauder School of Business. So Connor's active with the young professionals of Kamloops Rotaract, has a passion for coaching the Saheli boys rugby teams, and enjoys teaching kids of all ages business skills through the Junior Achievement Program. Connor is honest, goal-motivated, punctual, and energetic, all of which makes him the perfect agent to assist you with your next real estate transaction. So please help me welcome Connor Shelton.
Can expect more about that's just a generic bio. But so yeah, one of the things I think every real estate investors really need to know is the statistics of the market and how that can help you and signal to you what's going on in the market. So I'm sure lots of you guys have heard lots of people ask, is the market a seller's market, a balanced market, or a buyer's market? So right now, Kamloops has 6.7 months of inventory, meaning if no new listings came on the market and we stayed at the same rate of sales we're going at, how long would it take to sell all the listings remaining on the market? So Kamloops currently has 6.7 months. And Kamloops market, that's a very balanced market in my opinion. Here's the research I've done over the last little while and tracking it. So you can see that last May, we're, in my opinion, more towards a buyer's market, but still pretty balanced. So in a buyer's market, typically sellers can't refuse the price they're getting there. If someone wants to buy their house, they're gonna take it because no one else is gonna buy it. In balanced, it's even between buyers and sellers. And then sellers, obviously, they're kind of calling the shots. They might be listing at a reasonable price, but it's going for over asking. So I think a lot of the realtors in here can say as well, there is lots of properties that are going for over asking or asking, but if you don't price your property right, it's ultimately gonna stay on the market. My projection is for September, we're probably gonna go up a little bit because there's more listings coming on the market, same amount of listings coming on the market, if not a little bit less, but with still lots of inventory getting eaten up. So I don't have the September stats yet, but I will next meeting. So the average residential price we saw go up 4% month to month, so that was July to August. Projecting the same for September, but year to year, it's up 11% for the average price. So again, I'm sure everyone knows the average, but average taking all of them, dividing the sale price by how many sales there were, and that's what gives you the average. Whereas your median is taking all the prices and selecting the value rate in the middle. So they're good because the average sometimes can get skewed if you have really big sales, where the median can be a little bit more precise. So what I think is awesome is year to year, we saw 11% increase in the price from August 15 to August 16, from 378 to 419. So that would tell us that property prices in Kamloops are rising. So sales, usually in August, we see actually a bit of a dip where the market kind of goes into a slower time into the fall. Not a lot of people are looking to sell their house, but this year was different than what we've seen in the past, probably 5 to 6 years. We saw an increase of 10%, and year to year we saw an increase of 37%. So over 100 more listings were sold this August than last August. So lots of people are getting their hands in the market, and why not? It's great. So also why we saw that increase in price is because month to month we had less listings coming on the market. And then again, more sales. So that's what's ultimately driving the prices up in Kamloops, is less inventory and more sales. So yeah, month to month, listings were down 13%, but year to year we actually had more listings on. So here's comparing our sales by price range. And I like to show this because it shows you can kind of get into why did the average change. Because as you can see, in August is the red. In the 600 plus category, we did have a lot more in the 600 plus, so that would bring our average up more. And that's why it's important to use the median, because that's where we get the, not as skewed, in my opinion. So yeah, you can see that the most active price ranges are kind of anything between 200 and 400. You're seeing over 20, 25 sales in that range. But Kamloops is a very diverse market, and there's things everywhere. And so this graph is our average residential sales price in unit history. So this is correlating how many unit sales there are, the average sales price, and then the light blue line is our R-squared function. So I don't know how much you guys know about statistics, but this basically shows the growth over the whole graph. So over the whole graph, we've seen from December 2010, 18% increase, average increase in price. You can see the trends here of in December, November, we usually have the slowest time, least amount of unit sales, and then it spikes up. And you can see over the last couple years, we've just been getting more sales and more sales and more sales, and higher average price. So especially in the last 6 months here, you can see that we're a lot more stable, up in that kind of 380. Sorry, I should mention too, this is only residential houses, not including strata. Sorry, this will include Bearland strata, but not strata apartments or mobiles unless they're on their own land. And that's only because that's how it pulls information off the board. So this is the number of units sold versus the amount of units listed. And this ultimately gives you the odds of selling, because however many units are on the market and however many are selling give us the percentage of your odds to sell on the market. So this is the best also Kamloops has had in a very long time. Right now you have a 21.19% chance basically of selling your house, or in August, sorry. So of all the houses on the market, only 20% of them are going to sell, which to my point, in my opinion, it's really critical pricing your home, making it attractive for the next buyer to come in. And you can see year to year, last August, we had basically 13%, where this August we're at 21. So I can't say enough good things about the Kamloops market. And then Sam wanted me to show you guys.
Sorry, I clicked you out.
Oh, we did.
You're gonna have to need to get a new tab.
So we have a new Facebook page. Here we go. So if you search in right here, RENTS Club, the Real Estate Network Training Society. This is what we'll put updates on the group where meetings are going to be. And Sam's just posted a ton of positive economic things for Kamloops. So you can see the median price going up. There's a new Montessori school. There's another one I really liked in here. More students are enrolled. The new nursing school that's probably coming in. There's just tons of really awesome stuff in here. Yeah, more funding for skilled workers. So highly recommend you guys go on there. I believe you can just search RENT Real Estate Network Training Society and you'll get in there. That's all from me. Any questions on the economic update? Yeah.
When you're comparing like August 2016 and August 15,
Yeah.
are you comparing the cumulative total of all the sales up till August, or are you just comparing August to August?
Just August to August.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're knowing exactly what happened last August compared to this August.
Is it hard for you to pull the stats on the cumulative totals?
No, I can get the cumulative totals pretty easily. Basically, our board publishes about 3 or 4 documents that say this is how many sales, average price, or median price. So I actually just have an Excel spreadsheet I just punch everything into, it pops it out.
Okay, cool.
Cool. I think you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Connor. I was really appreciating your graphics there too. They're really simple and easy to understand, which is awesome. And it's so great to hear the market's really doing well in Kamloops. A good, healthy, strong market. That's what we like to see in this industry. So now I'd like to invite Sam Perrin up to the room, please. Sam is a fellow who is going to be speaking a couple of minutes. Now, Sam retired at the age of 30 from a 9-year career in the RCMP, thanks to real estate investing. He's a family man with 3 kids under 4. He's the best-selling author of Real Estate Action 2.0, and he's the first president of the Real Estate Network Training Society. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Sam Perrin.
Yeah, just further to what Connor was saying. The reason why the economic updates are so important is, just want to get to a graph here. Where are we? That really dial it down, because I mean all of us may or may not be in the same boat as far as where we're starting.
It shows up.
There we go. And let's see here. Yeah. Anyway, the graph's not coming up, but is it? How many people here are REIN members? The Real Estate Investment Network members. So they have an awesome GDP graph, and I'll pull it up when I have a moment, maybe later after the break. But basically, what makes real estate values rise and rents rise is GDP growth to an area brings in jobs, brings in more people to fill those jobs, That puts pressure on rents, which puts pressure on house prices, and within 18 months to 2 years, after you see some GDP growth, some money being spent in the area, you end up with higher prices. So that's it in a nutshell, and that's why the economic fundamentals are so important, and why I'm really grateful that Connor's gone to all the work of putting that together. So anyway, welcome. So I was in New York recently, and I tell you, I had a fun time. It's a long flight, yeah, I had a wonderful time learning at the feet of a really a powerhouse in real estate, Mr. George Ross. How many people here know who George Ross is? 1, 2, okay. So I'll do an introduction yeah, anyway, please take some notes. I'm gonna be handing out prizes later. So you're gonna want to take some notes. I'm gonna have this slides available later on for you to use, and I'll talk more about that later in the night. But taking notes really aids in retention, so I strongly encourage you to take some notes. Plus, you're not gonna want to miss out on these prizes. Okay, so this is the view I had flying out last week. It was actually Thursday morning, and I took a photo of, it was that perfect time of morning where you still see all the lights, but there's enough daylight that you can actually see the lay of the land. And if anybody recognizes Kamloops, this is Summit Drive connector, and here's where we are, up in TRU. I thought that was an excellent picture of this venue, and one of the major economic drivers here in Kamloops. You know, we're a town of 80 to 100,000. There's about 20,000 students and faculty. You know, so that's a fifth of the city really, because of this establishment. The TRU has been growing like crazy. So anyway, this presentation I'm doing is just a quick recap of what I learned from Mr. George Ross. So to some, he needs who's watched The Apprentice? Okay, there's a few. So George Ross was always in the boardroom of The Apprentice. He's really an incredible guy. He helped to build New York City. He served as an advisor and helped create real estate billionaires, including Donald Trump and Saul Goldman. He's also a best-selling author, Trump-Style Negotiation. If you're not familiar with the book, it's excellent. I highly recommend picking it up. It's made me a bunch of money. But he's recently been a judge on the Apprentice TV show, and he's also a philanthropist and a dedicated family man. Now, most of you know, I identify success not just in dollars, but in success in all of life. So that's family, finance. And the reason I really like George is because I learned actually at the conference that in February he's going to be celebrating 65 years of marriage to the same woman. And he's got 2 daughters, 3 granddaughters, and 2 great-grandchildren, a boy and a girl. The boy is the first boy of his family, and funny enough, his great-grandchildren are the same age as my kids, so we kind of had that in common. Now, there's some common misconceptions about George. So he's actually not friends with Donald Trump. He was very clear on that. He said, we always only had a business relationship, and I provided him with some advice, and it's been 20 years since I've actually had any real, other than The Apprentice, of course, since I've had any real contact or business dealings with Donald Trump. And he does not have regular access to Donald Trump, and yeah, it's not like they hang out or anything like that. He also does not condone of Trump's lifestyle, the excess, the multiple wives, the flashy display of wealth, and the way that he exaggerates in a lot of his public statements. So I found that really interesting. And then I always like to know a lot about people that I'm going to be learning from, so of course I Google George Ross, and I'm very surprised to see that his net worth, even though he's been involved in billions upon billions of dollars of transactions in New York, his net worth is posted at $20 million. So I thought, geez, that's pretty chintzy really for a guru. And but in talking and speaking with him and learning over the weekend, he actually has a bunch of assets that for some reason they're not measuring in those celebrity websites. And he sold a radio station, in fact, that he had for 20 years for over $100 million. So he's in his own right, he's a very successful man, 88 years old, 8 years young. So here's what I learned about the principles of raising capital. And it was a syndication. Seminar, and about how to raise large pools of capital for large projects. Because ultimately, that's the direction I want to go. I was able to retire from the RCMP early, thanks to the income from rental properties, single-family houses. That's great. Really big money is made in multifamily property developments, stuff like that. So that's why I went to this conference. So there's 5 principles to raising money, and when all 5 are met, life is really easy. The first is relationships. So a lot of the times when you're trying to build a real estate portfolio, you're missing money. And so what does the person who's missing money does? They go out looking for money. Well, there's a specific way that you need to do that. Nobody wants to be used. And high net worth people are very careful about who they let into their circle, because they're used to people always wanting something from them, wanting money from them. And so the advice that I got was, don't be fake. Come from a place of generosity and of service. Don't chase the money, but find a way to spend time with the people who have money, the high net worth individuals. Find out what they need, and remember that. And in the course of your travels, your networking, if you find something that's going to help them, then you can make the referral. And if it's a service or a product that you provide, let them know, but don't push for it. The next principle is trust. So trust is not just about, are you going to tell the truth? Can you be trusted? That goes without saying, but are you competent? And this is really important, because being incompetent is just as bad as being a liar, if not worse. So what do you do what you say? That's really important. Can you be trusted with small commitments, showing up on time to a meeting? Can you be trusted to ask the right questions? Can you be trusted to make a good plan? Can you be trusted to follow that plan and execute it well? Now, if you're meeting with somebody about a business venture and you discuss the details, and they tell you, okay, let's do this, well, then you know that they have your trust, and that they're able to make the decision on the spot. But if they say, oh, I need more time, I need my team to do some due diligence on this deal, well, then you know you got some work to do. And that somewhere there's some trust missing. So for some reason you're not showing up in a way that they are going to trust doing business with you right away. Results is the third principle that's really important. Results is your track record. So you can build a track record of your own merit. I mean, I bought my first 2 properties with my own money. And or you can build a track record by volunteering or interning for somebody who's successful. And the other way, and then you can say that I worked on such and such project of however many millions of dollars or whatever the case may be. And actually, there's a colleague of mine in Vancouver who did exactly that. He went to Calgary and consulted on a huge multi-million-dollar deal, and then went and put together 2 single-family homes. Got the owners to agree to sell to him as a unit for $1.2 million. Just got an appraisal for 3.6. So, and that's just the land value. They haven't even bulldozed or started building or anything yet. But he basically came from a place of just helping a big developer with on his own dime. He was flying to Calgary on his own, doing a bunch of the work, a lot of the research and due diligence. And he's a REIT member. I'd be happy to introduce you to him at the next meeting. I'm going to hopefully get him to come here and speak. But and the other way to build a track record is to pay for it. So I personally pay a lot of money for coaching and advice, and I'll talk more about that later. There's consultants that I've hired, and I know that there's a great coach in the room right now, being Dave DeBow. I don't know if you offer one-on-one coaching, but you do have some pretty great programs that I've partaken in. So honored to have you here, Dave. And but anyway, you pay for the coaching advice, and then you can attach yourself to the success of that. So that's the other way to build some results. Now, the next principle is a compelling opportunity. So I've heard this before. I hear, well, I had a great deal, but I couldn't get it funded. Now that leaves me kind of skeptical, because either it was not a good deal, or you were grossly underprepared, or you just didn't tell anybody about it. If you have such a great deal, either you could buy it, make some money from it, either from a purchase, you can JV with somebody, or you can assign it. You know, you can sell the contract and make some money that way. So a compelling opportunity is really important. And the final piece that I learned about here is alignment. So is the deal and the source of the money in alignment? So what that means is are the goals, is what the deal is and the goals for the person, do they mesh? Did you find it? Sorry, I have some guests that are just need some of the text. They came a long way, so I'm going to so alignment. So for a long time I was pitching 50-50 JV buy and hold deals. And I had a lot of people say, hey, I like you, I've got such and such dollars, I'm interested in doing a project with you. But I'm just not in, you know, then I'd send them, so I'd add them to my investor list and start sending them deals. Kansas is a great market for that. You can buy a place, you know, a single family home and rent it out. And it'll cover all your costs plus some, and there's some extra. And so basically a great little buy and hold community here. So that's what I was sending out to all my investors because that's what was easy to find. Well, and that's what I was taught. That's what I was taught when I first got into investing. It's a very safe way to invest, very low risk, and how I started. But when I actually started asking the people who had the money, the high net worth people, and who were willing to invest with me, I said, what do you want to invest in? They told me, and as a result, I started getting into some more of these you know, shorter term deals. A lot of high net worth people, they want to turn their money. They're okay with the higher risk because they're going to get a much higher return. So as a result, I've done 2 flips this year. I've done 2 renovations. One's sold, one's pending. Yeah, bought the subdivision property with a partner and also a 4-plex. So I'm right now shopping for another flip property. So if you know any houses that have Cat P or orders or anything like that, I'm happy to pay a finder's fee. So any help I can give with that, much appreciated. So that's the 5 principles for raising money, and in my experience, this is exactly right. And this is what I'm missing, is a compelling opportunity. So, and that's why I'm shopping. Now, if you're missing any of these pieces, a great way to get over it is, here's some homework for you. So what I want you to do is I want you to make a list, and I did this, and it was actually pretty amazing. Make a list of 50 names of people that you would like to do business with. So they should be people who have something that you don't, be it time, expertise, or money. And some of those people on the list should be inaccessible. So, you know, let's say you pick a celebrity, Oprah, for example. How are you going to get to Oprah? There's no way that you're going to be able to just pick up a phone and call Oprah or show up at one of her offices and talk to her. You're going to need to do some work at it. So you're going to have to maybe work towards her husband or her boyfriend through his circle, or maybe attend a charity event for one of her trusted agents. You're going to have to do a lot of work. The point is some of the people on your list, it'll really grow you as a person, grow your network if you make that list of 50 people and really work to growing it. So in the end, for people to do business with you, they need to know you first, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. So these are the things that George was sharing. Now, George told a story about, this is one of his secrets. He told a story about how he built up credit to a point that he had a huge unsecured line of credit, and he had a specific strategy how to do that. It's in the book. Maybe not this one, maybe it's in his first book, Real Estate Secrets for the Small Investor. But in any event, he was able to turn a small loan, $5,000, $10,000, and over the course of building relationships with various lenders, grow that into multi thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars line of credit. He used that to buy his radio station, which he made the most money off of. it's really interesting. So, yeah, use your money that you have to service down payment on a project. And this is how Trump built a lot of his huge projects. He was using his money or his dad's money to service money that he borrowed for down payment. He'd go out and get a high net worth individual or company to write the guarantee on the loan, and then the banks would cut him the check for the construction. So as I was flying into New York, it was pretty interesting to see. There was probably 5 or 10 minutes of flying by these types of properties. So you can imagine what they're worth, right on the Hudson, and all those little dots are actually sailboats. And there's thousands upon thousands of sailboats. So it's a pretty unreal place. Yeah, lots of money in New York. You can see why so many people have done business. Here's another shot of just flying into 2 budgets there. Now, has anybody seen the movie Sully? Like, yeah. So I watched that over a week prior to going. I thought, oh boy, I'm sure we don't end up landing in the Hudson like they did. But well, if we did land, I would want to land like they did because nobody was severely injured or killed. So anyway, really, really interesting. Landed in LaGuardia too, the same airport that they flew out of. You know, birds and ended up crashing into. So, all right. The next thing that was covered at this conference is deal structure. So, I would be happy to pay. Does this sound like a good deal to you? Anybody?
Not on the surface.
Let's see.
If it was filled with $1 million, yeah.
Depends on what kind of restaurant.
How about now? I will pay you a penny per day until the price is paid in full. So you know, I can take that car, let's say sell it for $1,000, invest that into something, and I'll be able to make money and pay you your penny a day until it's paid in full. It'll take me, you know, longer than when both of us are alive to pay you in full. But anyway, the point is, you should be willing to pay any price if you can get control of the terms. If you have complete control of the terms, then you can do something like this. And even if you crushed the car and sold it for scrap, the money you invest would be more than a penny a day. So I found that to be a really interesting, eye-opening experience, a very great lesson. Now, something about terms. George Ross's secret, the lawyer for Donald Trump, I mean, his book is full of little tricks that he does in leases and the New York real estate world is a really strange world, and he was able to do lots of stuff with air rights and leases and all that kind of stuff. But he says, you prepare the paperwork so that you have complete control of the negotiation, and use the heading for your paperwork and make it say standard contract of purchase and sale or standard lease agreement, and don't use your company letterhead. The best really is a government looking form. It's something that looks like it came from the government, and then you just change the clauses around. So you're not going to get as much flack from the person you're negotiating with if they believe that the contract that they're dealing with you on, and you volunteer to do it. You say, look, I'll spend the money, I'll spend all the time putting together this contract, save you the trouble, and then you can put clauses that are favorable to you, and maybe they catch it, maybe they don't. But I've actually done this for several months now, ever since I first read about it in the book, with my residential lease agreements. So I have what looks like a standard 6-page residential lease. You know, it looks exactly the same as the RTB form, but I've changed a lot of the clauses to make it a very strong contract for landlord. Everything is, of course, lawful within it's all legit within the context of the BC Tenancy Act, but I have things like a re-rental fee if they don't stay for the full term of the lease. I've struck out. I have a vacancy clause where I make sure that people are going to move out at the end of a set amount of time, so I'm not stuck in a month-to-month contract. Because as soon as a tenant goes to month-to-month in BC, you may or may not be aware, you lose complete control of the contract, and you're at the mercy of the tenants, and now you're stuck with rent control. And yeah. So anyway, you can't. Yes, to answer your question, I know you're thinking it. You can have a copy of my residential lease, and I'll tell you how to get that at the end of the presentation here. So this is typical deal structure. In the industry here in BC, here's a lot of the typical, the way that deals are structured. But in the world of New York, real estate, they're dealing with hundreds of years of easements, historical sites, environmental reports, things called long-term ground leases. Actually, I think that's how the new development here at TRU is going on, is it's a 100-year lease. They've released 20 acres. Oh, good. Hi. Hi, Sam. I'm so sorry, guys. It's good.
Hi, how are you? What's that? No, back to Australia.
No.
3 months ago. This will be year number 6.
You didn't miss too much. So.
Of course.
All right, where was I? Oh, yeah, sorry, I should welcome Dan and Sherry, welcome all the way from, where did you guys come from? Pardon me? Alberta.
Today it was from San Juan.
San Juan, yes. Yeah, welcome all the way from San Juan. Yeah, so glad you guys made it. Because as you guys know, I had put in the meeting details the arts room 108, but then when I went and checked it out, it was really old and dungy, and I thought, this isn't where we want to be. So I asked them to change it for us, and they were good enough to do so, but I failed to find a very special guest. So my apologies, I'm sorry for that. So as I was saying, this is the layout for a lot of the typical deal structures here in British Columbia. New York City, they are dealing with a totally different real estate world. So they have a lot of more complicated things. So a simple infill project, for example, would take a lot of due diligence, a lot of work. It's really complex. Just take a read of George Ross's book, and you'll see some of the things that he was dealing with in his negotiations, trying to get air rights. You can buy air rights from buildings that aren't using all of the height restriction and add it onto your building. All kinds of interesting little bylaws and stuff like that. So, and negotiating leases. So what I got from the event was how to structure real estate deals that are outside of the norm. Because to be honest, all I've been taught in the past is the kind of the normal business practices of BC. But contract law is contract law, and the stuff that I learned over there in New York or in the US is applicable here. And I think I was commenting, there was, is it 20 acres or something that was just released by TRU for development? They're asking for bids. Is anybody familiar with that? Anybody see that in the news? It's on the Facebook feed for the RENTS Facebook group, and I put it up there. And maybe I'll pull it up later, but yeah, basically they're offering a 100-year lease, similar to on the native reserve there, where they are at Sun Rivers, where they have ownership of the land, and they're offering a lease to developers for 100 years or what have you. And apparently there's a lot of interest. So TRU is going to be growing even more because of that deal. And yeah, anyway, don't be afraid to structure things differently than what the norm is. So I'm not going to repeat everything about what I learned about structuring deals, because I just don't have time. This is Carnegie Hall. I had all of my sightseeing at night because it was jam-packed days, and like I got 3 little kids. Marcy's not going to let me stay here for an extra day to sightsee. So this is in the last few hours before my flight left. I got up at 3 in the morning, started walking around to look at stuff. This is Carnegie Hall. Who knows Andrew Carnegie? Who knows the name? Okay, there's a couple. Good. So Andrew Carnegie, for those of you that don't know, he's a mentor of mine. He was the richest man in America for a period of time. He was a steel magnate, and he gave away a lot of his wealth in his lifetime. And he had a saying. He said, "A man who dies rich dies disgraced." And his philosophies on philanthropy and giving away money have influenced a lot of people. So I was really excited to see Carnegie Hall because it's one of the many institutions that he built while he was still alive with his money. How am I doing for time? Good. 20 to 8. Okay. Sorry something that really helped me with overcome my hangups around money, called The Gospel of Wealth. Absolutely fabulous essay, and basically talks about how you can be a good Christian capitalist, how those of us who are good at accumulating money, it's our job to be stewards of that money and use it for the betterment of humanity. Anyway, love to see Carnegie Hall. That was absolutely awesome for me. There was a segment also at this event about branding, and it was basically Raymond Aaron. Anybody here know Raymond Aaron? Yeah, so Raymond Aaron, he did a presentation on branding, and basically he helps people self-publish. He's been doing it for a very long time, and he did a presentation, and basically his solution is that everybody needs a book. He said, any problem in your life, it's because you don't have a book. Now he was selling, his publishing, he could help you write your book for $4,000. I mean, the pitch was beautiful. He'd been working on it for 20 years, and I didn't sign up because I've already co-authored a couple of books. But a lot of my colleagues did. It was a very good sales presentation, so I learned a lot in that respect. And it was really cool to see Raymond in person, because he's been through the internet. He's one of the gurus that you see all the time, and kind of cool to see him in person. He's a lot shorter than you think. So.
He could probably outflank you.
Probably he can, yeah. He had a guy. Well, it's the same presentation. You must have seen it, Dave. Yeah. He's doing a plank, and he's an old guy. He's like in his 70s, and he's got a personal trainer on his back and then a girl on his back while he's doing the plank. Interesting guy. Like, he was a loser and broke at 50, and then did a whole bunch of stuff. Wrote a bunch of books, I guess, and that made him rich and famous. And now he cross countries across Antarctica. Anyway, really interesting guy. But George Ross, what I picked away from George about branding is find a celebrity to give you testimonials. Testimonials are great. This guy was good, but if you can find somebody who's recognized, a celebrity in your community, get somebody prominent to say, hey, I made a ton of money with you, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. And that could really go a long way. I mean, George would not be George Ross without Donald Trump. All of his books say Trump on it. Donald allows him to use the Trump name for that because he's made Donald a lot of money. He's the guy that takes care of the details. And he said, Donald's biggest strength is that he delegates everything. And he delegates everything to good people. And he delegated everything to me. So, he says, find yourself a celebrity, and that's how George became a 2 times best-selling author. It's not because of his charm or personality or whatever, it's because he's associated to this crazy guy Trump. And so I co-authored a book. It was an interesting exercise. I did it with the Aussie Girard group out of Vancouver. And actually, the biggest impact and the best part of co-authoring the book is the contact with the other people who contributed to the book, the other authors, because everybody did a chapter. So there's 47 of us in total, and just being able to, when the opportunity came up, I jumped on it, and I'm really happy that I did, because of just being able to network with these other individuals who, a lot of them are really high net worth. I've done some business with some of them now, and it was really beneficial. So that's about that. So write a book. Relational capital. So this was an interesting segment. Relational capital is a measure of the value of all of your relationships. You might have heard of financial capital, human capital, emotional capital, basically resources that you can put towards a particular project. Well, relational capital, the value of relationships, how many relationships you have, can you call people up in a time of need, all that kind of stuff, be a good friend. But I asked George something specific, because I really wanted to know this, because it's very important to me in my life right now. So I said to George, I paid the extra $1,000 to have lunch with him at his table, so that I could talk to him. I got to sit right beside him, right on his right-hand side, so it was perfect. But anyway, so I said, hey, I have a burning question. Oh, time to put the kids to bed. I tell you, being Mr. Mom is awesome. Anyway, so George said, okay, go on. And I said, George, how on earth did you manage to become as successful as you have been and remained married to the same woman for 65 years. And so he told me this story. So he said, well, it's really quite simple. When my wife and I first got married, I told her, listen, I'm going to be in charge of every major decision, period. You can be in charge of every minor decision. And then he told me, after he told me that, I said, oh, geez, it's kind of, you must really, run a rigid household. And then he followed up, he said, and in 65 years of marriage, there has never been a major decision. So I thought that was kind of funny. But then he said, okay, in all seriousness, I just spend time with my family. And that's the way it's always been. That's why I'm a multimillionaire, not a multi-billionaire, because I spend time with my family. So I asked him, what's the best way to give back? And he told me, you know what, writing a check is really lazy. To contribute to this world, you need to spend time. So here he was again saying time. You spend time on the causes and the things that are important to you, that you value, because that's the only non-renewable resource. And it becomes more and more scarce the more that you use it. One of the best ways to get into a network or to expand your network is to get involved with a charity that is dear to your heart. And you will find that there are some big donors associated to that. Get to know who those big donors are. For example, George Ross is a really big donor to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And he spent most of that lunchtime absolutely in awe talking about the St. Jude's Children's Hospital, all the good work that they're doing. It's the biggest cancer clinic for children in the world, I think. They have a multi-million-dollar budget a day. And it's free for any children who have you need to have a specific type of cancer that's non-treatable in wherever you are to get there. But once you get there, it's free. And George and his wife, their foundation, they are big donors to a lot of initiatives at the St. Jude's Hospital. And I asked him, why are you so interested in St. Jude's? And he said, well, I can't imagine how hard it would be for a parent to go through watching their child fight cancer. And every time I see it, I think, there, but for the grace of God, go back, because none of his family suffered from that. So I don't know if it was a friend or something, he wouldn't go into it. But he said, whenever I can help, I do it. And I can tell you firsthand, I mean, I was in Vancouver yesterday. I took my kids, they have some eye problems, so they, nothing serious, but we go to Children's Hospital for their eye exams, for the surgeries and stuff. And to see, a lot of those bald-headed kids and those parents that are just looking so worried because their children are facing a death sentence. And the uncertainty stuff, it really tugs at me too, which is part of the reason I'm involved in the Cops for Kids bike riding charity. I like to do these things. But anyway, really grateful to have healthy kids. So is George, that's why he's involved in the St. Jude's Hospital. And that's really most of what he talked about during my time with him. So, syndication. Who knows what syndication is? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, syndication is just an American term, and it's just the pooling of capital of multiple people to accomplish a big project. So it's really quite simple. So this is a guy by the name of Mauricio Rald, and he's actually an attorney that did a presentation on some syndication case studies in the U.S. And he went over a couple of case studies. I'm not going to cover them in detail here, but it was really great to tap his brain, because Mauricio is very experienced in dealing with interstate and international offerings. He shared concepts about setting up various entity structures, raising and handling money and complying with state and federal securities laws. Now, it was US based, but a lot of the content was relevant to putting together bigger deals here as well. And I've taken the Canadian Securities course, and I can tell you that a lot of it is the same framework for raising big money here in BC as well. So. And I'm planning to attend future events with Mauricio, because he goes to something called the Summit of C every year. A lot of times it's faculty. He's been going for the last 10 years. And the Summit of C is it's a cool event that I just heard about. There's a radio program called the Real Estate Guys out of the US, and they have a podcast as well. But they put on this Summit at C, and a couple hundred people, high net worth people. It's a pretty big price tag 4 to 10 grand, depending on if you want to be on the inside of the ship or have a view or whatever. Plus your flights, you gotta get to Houston. But it's a week, all-inclusive trip, and I'm gonna be starting to go to these because it's where the high net worth people are, and it sounds like a lot of fun. You get to learn and talk real estate for 10 days. What could be better than that? And you can bring your kids. So maybe I'll wait till they're out of diapers, but I'm definitely going to soon. And being able to rub shoulders with a guy like this. So I'm not going to be doing this exact same structures, but I'm going to be trying some of the same strategies around here, and I'll update you along the way. So, and one of them is one of the strategies, just briefly, it's invest on the line and then move the line. So basically, you find an area in an older part of town that's being in the process of gentrification. In Kamloops, that'd be like some of the pockets of the North Shore. A lot of it's happened already. You know, with the Library Square and what's that new, the Manchati Pharmacy, where somebody's built brand new, beautiful stuff in the middle of the hood, and as a result, it's brought everything up. You know, when I saw the city as a cop, as a police officer driving around policing the North Shore, you know, there's all the dark alleys, the hookers and stuff all along Tranquille there. And then when they installed those big bright lights, the city installed those big bright lights, and then they put 10-year tax holidays on anybody that's going to develop anything there. Well, then you start seeing these things, these big multi-unit projects popping up. It's really interesting. So it's basically the same concept as that, but the way they teach it is, so you find the line, where is the hood, and then find a house or whatever to flip right on the line. And if you do that across an entire block, well, all of a sudden, now that block, you know, this is what you do with bigger amounts of money when you have it. All of a sudden, that block is now nicer, so now the line has moved inside a little bit. So it's a really interesting strategy, you know, for a guy like me that's got some big money sitting there and not really being able to place it very well because I only have experience in single family houses. This is the way that I can branch out. So very interesting. All right, what's better? Anybody? Come on, which is better, you guys? Somebody help me out here.
Depends on what we want.
Sean.
Development.
Development's better. Okay, well, thank you, Sean. You're great. It's actually a trick question. The correct answer is it depends.
That's what I said.
I didn't give you an argument. You gotta.
I got a prize for that, right?
You gotta, yeah, I got a prize.
There's a clock right there,
Nice one, dude. Okay, so, thanks, Dave. So both are actually good. Appreciation is a fact. It's a reflection of market inflation. And it's really pretty simple. As George Ross says, God is not making any more land. And we feel it here because we live in a valley, in a hole. There's old stuff that's occupied that you gotta tear down and build something up new, or else you're paying lots of big money to develop around in the hills, right? So, about development, what George says, he says, listen, it's appealing to a lot of people. There's a lot of money that can be made in development, but more fortunes have been lost in real estate than have ever been made. So I thought that was really interesting.
In development.
Yeah.
The kids are still up.
Yes,
Dad, I'm
So-
thirsty.
He also says you can't talk generalities in real estate. It's about a specific deal and a specific property in a specific neighborhood, in a specific city, in a specific state, in a specific country. So talking about things like median price over a market or even over a city, province, or a country is almost meaningless. Every deal is unique. And another thing he said was, you need, every deal is unique. Another thing he said is, if you got an idea for a really good project, go out there and tie it up. Have an offer with subjects or whatever before you go shopping it around. There's a development property that I was interested in on 9th Avenue, actually. And no sooner, there's a couple days, I was going to do some more due diligence. They're asking $950,000. I'm sure it's there on 9th Avenue.
Going to court.
1393. It's going to court. Do you know the court date, Ed?
October 15th.
Really? Really? Okay, is it here or is it Vancouver? Anyway, I started sniffing around and then there was an accepted offer like a couple days after, so I didn't follow that advice, and if I had, maybe I'd have it under contract and be able to flip it off to somebody else, or whatever. So, I have a high net worth individual investor who's been interested in something like that, but he said, the trouble is with a 52 unit building, is either you build it or you don't. It's nice to just buy a big parcel of land and do 4 plexes, because you can build one and then see how it goes and then sit on the rest of the land. Yeah. Anyway, more fortunes have been lost in real estate than made. But George also said you need lots of cash reserves. He was talking about his radio station that he had just purchased 25 years ago, and he said he was losing $16,000 a month for the first 16 months before he started turning a profit. But because he had enough cash reserves, he was able to, after 20 years, his net income was $400,000 a month in advertising revenues. And he later sold the company, he had a partner in it. He sold the company for 23 times gross earnings. So that's well over $100 million. I did the math because he didn't say it outright, but $400,000 a month net profits. He's doing pretty well in gross. So I talked about the real estate guys. This is Robert Helms. He's one of the hosts of the Real Estate Guys radio show. And I love listening to his comments about learning from George. Now, George is 88 years young, although it's tempting to think that he's washed up. Guys like this have been through so much. He's seen a chunk of the Depression, World War II, the nuclear threat, the assassination of President Kennedy, the Korean War, sending a man to the moon, the removal of the gold standard, hyperinflation, high interest rates in the 70s, stagnation, the Vietnam War. It goes on and on and on, the stuff that a guy like George Ross has seen. And the things that he's seen in a lifetime, they're pretty amazing to a younger guy like me, because I just don't have the perspective. And guys like George have seen things and pick up these pearls of wisdom. So when I listen to it, it's not anything really complex or deep that he shared, but the things that you hear, that he's gotten them from going around the block, not once, but many, many, many times. And doing some of the biggest deals in one of the biggest marketplaces, being New York. The wisdom that comes out of his war stories is absolutely amazing. And the opportunity to sit at his feet was just fantastic. And one of the best parts of preparing this for you guys is that I got to really go through my detailed notes and pick up those pearls of wisdom, which are not superficial and come from so much experience. And they bubble up in a little phrase here and there. And by seeing what he actually means, where he comes from on each little pearl of wisdom, I can really relate it to my own situation. George touched, as Robert Helms here said, George touched thousands upon thousands of properties in New York, had something to do with a good chunk of the city, whether it's negotiating leases or developments or whatnot, or obtaining covenants. But yeah, really interesting guy. So if you're raising a large amount of money from the public, it's very expensive, it's complex, and it's slow. So most individual real estate deals, they don't need to be structured with offering memorandums and all that kind of stuff. It's a real pain in the butt. Whenever possible, use an exemption. And there's several exemptions under the BC Securities Act to raise large amounts of money. And are you guys interested in what that is, or should I just move on?
Nope.
Okay. It's gonna take a while. Okay, so here are the exemptions in British Columbia. If you want to invest with me and you're just a member of the general public. So you gotta purchase a share of my existing portfolio. You be an accredited investor, and that means you make $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year if you're a couple, or you have $1 million in liquid assets, cash in the bank basically, not real estate. You can invest at least $150,000, be my friends, families, or close business associates. So that's how you invest. That's how you can raise money in BC using one of these exemptions. It's the best way to invest because you're losing 10 to 20% of the funds that you raise in complying with the Securities Act, hiring an exempt market dealer,
Mhm.
having an operating memorandum put together. Lots of money fees. You basically need to be raising $5 million or more to make it economic. That's kind of the rule of thumb here in BC anyway. But yeah, that's George's advice. Whenever you can, rely on exemptions. All right. So there's me climbing the Empire State Building. Again, I'm touring around at night. There was countless rooftops to be seen. I don't know if you guys saw my live video on Facebook. I kind of live on Facebook. Each one of these rooftops, and like this is just a tiny segment, right, of what I saw. Each rooftop represents millions upon millions of dollars. And I came to see that it's true. There's a vast amount of money out there. There's enough money, in fact, I looked this up. There's enough money out there for every single person on earth to be a billionaire, to have $1 billion. So I was inspired to go get mine. And you should be too.
That's right, eh? There's
Yeah,
enough out there.
and that's in US dollars, mind you. So that, you know, it'd be kind of meaningless if we all had $1 billion because who are you gonna pay to cut your lawn, right? But, whatever. Make your Starbucks.
So that's 18
Robots.
times a billion. What is that big number? I wouldn't even know how to see it.
It's a trillions and trillions, right? Yeah. So,
That's
and you know, this comes down into and like Robert Helms talked about this at length too, and I only have so much time for the presentation, but there's a big difference between currency and money. You guys know the difference between currency and money? So currency is what they print, and money is, anyway. Yeah, or acid producing stuff, business, you know. Okay, so yeah, people invest in businesses. This is where I'm really struggling or having some growing pains, you could say, is putting processes in place and hiring the people that I need to make my business run smoother so I can focus on the more important things that are going to generate bigger revenues. And yeah, people, for the most part, you know, you're a nice guy, but if you don't have the processes in place, if I give you my money, what the heck are you going to do with it, right? So people invest in businesses, not the self-employed. Make sure you're organized with the part, dress the part, talk the jargon. You need to create an aura of respectability. That's his words. And yeah, I love those. Okay, parting advice from Mr. Ross. Yeah. Most interesting thing I found out of his advice here, there's no such thing as a real estate bubble. When a bubble bursts, there's nothing, right? When a stock melts down, there's nothing. When real estate values go down by 20 or 50%, it's still there. You probably still have tenants paying something. If you have adequate cash reserves, then you should be able to go through any real estate. He said, listen, in 70 years of watching real estate, it's always gone up and down, but for the most part, it's been going up. So if you're in it for the long term, your real estate always goes up, and it's because of inflation. And I'll have to go into inflation more another time because that's it, I'm out of time. So. Yeah, and if you were to buy, he said, if you were to buy real estate now, in 10 years, it's going to be more expensive to buy that same real estate. And but he said, I'm not buying anything right now. I don't even buy ripe bananas because he's 80 years. He says, at my age, you don't even buy ripe bananas. And then the part I really liked here was you never go broke making a profit. That was one of my favorites.
Did he say ripe bananas?
Yeah. He said at my age, you don't even buy ripe bananas. Green bananas.
Don't buy.
Yeah, don't buy green
No,
bananas.
Get the jokes right.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, quiz time.
Oh, for prizes?
For prizes, yeah.
My back.
So, first prize, I got a little story. So it's half of the room is Canadians, and we were, most of us were the ones that paid the extra to have lunch with George. So there's 8 of us sitting around the table with George, talking and stuff. And then this guy comes up. He must have heard George Ross is in town, and he's an American. And he comes up and he says, "Oh, Mr. Ross, it's so nice to meet you." And he's shaking his hand. He said, "Look, listen. Next time you see Donald, you gotta tell him this. Like, a few years back, I was at a book signing, and Donald signed a couple of books for my kids, and he didn't just say, good luck or whatever in the book. He asked, I said, can you put into my kids' names? So he wrote my kids' names. Anyway, you tell Donald that, and he'll remember me. and then tell him this. If he says so-and-so, he'll win the election. If he says so-and-so at the debate, he'll win the election. And he's like, and this is my business, and this is, and just, the guy came and just totally hijacked our table. Here we are, we spent a lot of money to be there. We're trying to learn from this guy, and George is like basically rolling his eyes, like another one of these guys, but he's taking it all in, he's fairly good about it. But, so then the guy leaves, and we're all like, oh, thank goodness. But then he comes back. Then he comes back, and he hands everybody, so he already handed us business cards. He hands everybody out one of these, and it's for his company, right? And what he says is, and there's a couple of guys sitting over there at our table, and they're French, thickest French accents he ever heard, but none of us had spoken. The one guy, he looks Asian. So this guy, the American, with trying to promote his business, he said, he hands out these dinosaurs. Okay, nice to see you guys. And then he to the Chinese guy, Konnichiwa, or whatever, right? And the guy's like, just because he looks Chinese. So and that was the only rude American that I met on the entire trip.
Japanese. Konnichiwa is Japanese.
Wow. I don't
He
know.
said something like that.
He said something like that.
That's what it is.
So,
Ni hao is Chinese. Hello.
I'm glad you're more educated than me. Anyway, the first prize. The guy was annoying to all of us and rude because he made assumptions on the poor Asian guy.
You mean the first day?
But he made an impression. I remember him. So is it better to have a negative impression or no impression? I don't know. Trump thinks a negative impression, obviously. But so the first prize is the little dinosaur that the American gave me. How many kids does George Ross have?
2.
Who said that first? Paul? Paul, congratulations. You are the proud winner of a dinosaur for health plan business. Something like that. Congratulations. All right. Next prize. If I can find it. Oh, so this was a pretty swanky hotel. We were at the Grand Hyatt, which is one of Donald Trump's first projects, big projects that he did. And while I was there, I stole one of their pens. So it's actually a really, really good pen. And this is if you're a note taker, copious note taker like myself, you'll really appreciate how this thing writes. And this is the next prize that's up for grabs. So the question to win this prize is, what is the name of Andrew Carnegie's essay on wealth?
Crossroads Luck.
You guys can't take home all the prizes.
You get all the
Where
questions,
should we
right?
give this one?
Okay, Andrew should have some order. Click on the browsing hands instead of just shoving it out. All right, here's something that's kind of important. And the last prize, I got an extra copy of an extra autographed copy of George's book here. And fabulous book. A lot of guys are using this right now in their business who are crushing it, and I'm enjoying some of the strategies of it as well that I shared with you. So, what are the 5 principles of raising capital? Yes, Sean.
Relationships, trust, results, compelling opportunity, alignment.
Hey, bravo!
You got the best prize.
Congratulations. Good job, Sean. Okay. So yeah, that's it for me. Goodbye, New York. This is me flying out. Oh, you gotta go, Greg? Oh, yeah. You do? Okay. Okay, so when I first moved to Kamloops, we were looking for a house with a suite. And we had to get a house with a suite because we wanted to rent in the basement. I knew I had to have some kind of income for my property because I read a book on it. It was the first property I ever bought. I came here to transfer to the RCMP. And I'm really glad that I did because the income that I got from that suite, cumulatively since I moved here, is $84,000. So that's a lot of money. It's not that long of a time, really, since I moved here, But at $1,000 a month, $84,000. It just makes sense to the small decisions that you make at the beginning of a real estate career can really build up into something really positive for you and your family. And now I have the ability to spend time with my kids, which is what I want to do. thanks to that and a series of other decisions. But it started out with a book very similar to the one that I just gave away. And the reason why I talk about $1,000 is because Greg helped me to buy that. Greg Euro, who has Greg Euro's Mortgages, he passed me, I've been saying to everybody, look, send me a property, a name and a number, that's it, I'll give you $1,000 if I buy it. Greg helped me buy that fourplex, so Greg, I just want to say thank you very much for you've been very patient for your check. Thank you very much for helping me buy that fourplex. And yeah, next mortgage, I'm definitely coming to your office knocking first. So
Next deal, I'm gonna sign it instead of.
yeah, if you get under contract and sign it, it would still would have been a good deal, you know. So,
Thank you, guys.
Take care, Greg.
take care. Do you have any cards, Greg? Oh, that you can leave? Okay, that's it for me.
All right, thank you very much. So it's now time, we'll take a few minutes, 15 minutes, set your watch, and have a bit of a break for networking. We can chit chat, and there's some refreshments here. And the bathroom, I believe, is just across the hall over there. So yeah, I'd like you to come back to your seats by, say, 8:25.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, you bet.
You want to trade,